Hello everyone, and welcome to a video on the Constructive Criticism YouTube channel. I'm Spencer, host of Constructive Criticism and Limited Time Only, two podcasts about getting better at Magic the Gathering. Today I'm excited to talk to you about a deck that's been doing a little bit, had a little bit of a shakeup, I should say, in the Modern metagame, and that's Burn. So Burn is a deck that's been a part of Modern for a long time. You know, whether it was playing with Wild Nacatl and, Autarchus Command, or all the way back to when it was Mono Red Burn, just trying to get you with some Lightning Strikes and, or not Lightning Strike, Lightning Bolts, and some smaller creatures. I mean, early versions of Burn, you even had like the Dark Confidant versions, the black-red ones, the Bump of the Night versions. Just playing Bump of the Night and Lightning Bolt and trying to deal as much damage as quickly as possible. Burn's been a part of the metagame for a long time. And this time it has a new toy, and you can see it right here on your screen. It has Shrine of the Burning Rage. So, Shrine of Burning Rage is not a new card. This is actually a card that saw a lot of play in Caw-Blade Standard. So one of the decks that was believed to have a really good matchup against Caw-Blade was actually Burn decks. These were Shrine of the Burning Rage. I'm going to probably call it Shrine of the Burning Rage a few times. Shrine of Burning Rage decks with Koth of the Hammer and Goblin Guide and Lightning Bolt. I think that deck played Plated Geopied, if I'm not mistaken. It's just a really, really aggressively slanted red deck with lots of burn spells, lots of burst lightnings, lots of lightning bolts. And the deck was really powerful, and the card has finally made its way into these decks. So what do you do is you start at the beginning of your upkeep, or whenever you cast a red spell, you put a charge counter on it, and it's 2 mana. And then you can pay 3 mana, and it will deal damage equal to the number of charge counters on it. So you are going to play mostly red spells in this deck. In fact, you're going to only play red spells in this deck. So, the deck list starts off with 4 Shrine of Burning Rage, 4 Goblin Guide, 4 Monastery Swiftspear, 4 Boros Charm, 4 Lightning Bolt, 4 Lightning Helix, 4 Searing Blaze, 4 Skullcrack, 4 Lava Spike, and 4 Rift Bolt. It's an all 4 of deck. It's 4 of every spell, 20 lands. We have 4 Arid Mesa, 4 Bloodstained Mire, 3 Inspiring Vantage, 2 Mountain, 2 Sacred Foundry, 1 Stomping Grounds, and 4 Wooded Foothills. So we have 12 fetch lands, a lot of lands to fetch up, some Inspiring Vantages, and then the sideboard, we have 3 Relic of Progenitus, 2 Grim Lavamancer, 2 Kor Firewalker, 4 Destructive Revelry, 3 Path to Exile, and 1 Shattering Spree. I'd like to kind of talk about the main deck for a little while. As you can see, this is a straight-up burn deck. Minimal creatures, just 4 Goblin Guides, 4 Monastery Swiftspear. Basically, the best creatures you can be playing in the deck, this deck wants to play them. It's not playing things like Eidolon or some of those other creatures that the deck might play. It's not playing things like Wild Nacatl or Curdape, like the decks have played in the past. The deck is just an all-out burn deck with Goblin Guides and Monastery Swiftspears. Boros Charm is one of the spells that it plays because it deals 4 damage for 2 mana. Skullcrack, you want to stop them from getting life. You want a spell that deals 3 damage. Skullcrack is going to fill that slot rather than something like a Autarchus Command, which it has in the past because you're not a creature deck anymore. You're a straight up burn deck. Searing Blaze is a way for you to gain tempo throughout the game. Make sure that you're not getting hit too hard while also dealing them damage and advancing your game plan. Lightning Strike is another way for you to keep the game in your favor as you deal them damage and gain a little bit of life. And then you have your straight up, Lightning Bolt style effects, whether it's Rift Bolt, Lava Spike, or Lightning Bolt. These are just 1 mana, deal 3 damage, and they're important to your game plan, especially with things like Monastery Swiftspear and now Shrine of Burning Rage. These cards really want you to amass a large number of burn spells, and they're going to be the best cards in your deck. One of the things that I think is really important to note about this deck is it has a very clear identity. One of the things that I think that a lot of burn decks in the past in Modern have had is they have an identity crisis. Are they an aggro deck? Are they a burn deck? What are they? This one's just a burn deck. That is what it's trying to do, and Shrine's probably going to deal 5 or more damage every single time. And that's a huge chunk of damage in Modern, especially when people are usually starting the game at 18 or 17 life. So the main deck is very clear in its identity. Let's go to the sideboard really quick. So the sideboard has 3 Relic of Progenitus. This is pretty important for a few reasons. One of the reasons is you need Graveyard Hate because those are the decks that are going to be fast enough to put a clock on you and make you wish that you had it. I've seen a lot of these lists without Graveyard Hate. I really do like Relic of Progenitus in the slot specifically because it is unassuming. It does take up 2 mana. You could try to do things like Leyline and stuff like that, but then you have to mulligan for them. This just fits into your curve when you can do it, disrupting their game plan while you can still hopefully use the rest of your mana to progress yours. Grim Lavamancer is one that I've really liked in the deck, whether it's in the main or the side. I think that it allows you to grind out games that you don't typically have the ability to do. That's really important. Sometimes you need something a little bit to push you over the edge. That's one of the reasons that I like Shrine of Burning Rage, is that it does that. But Grim Lavamancer just gives you a way to do it in more matchup, while also, just being a creature. You're not playing a lot of creatures. They might board out some number of removal spells against you, and that lets you go into Grim Lavamancer and really punish them for doing that. Kor Firewalker is one that makes a lot of sense to me. Like, the mirror match is going to be about who draws their Kor Firewalker, so if you don't have them, you're at a disadvantage, and you can expect some of mirrors. So I think Kor Firewalker is a reasonable choice to include in your sideboard. Destructive Revelry as a 4-of is really important. I think you'd have to deal with a lot of enchantments. I think you have to deal with a lot of artifacts. And this is the one that allows you to deal with both. I know that some people have played things like Smash to Smithereens in the past if they don't expect enchantments. But the thing is that I do think that you can expect things like Leyline against your deck, so I think Destructive Revelry is really important in those matchups. Also, obviously, it's just completely insane against Affinity, so... we have 3 Path to Exile. I've seen lists play as many as 4. I've seen lists play as few as 2. I think you need a way to deal with big creatures because you don't have it in your 75 in your main deck. So you need some of that in your 75. And Path to Exile kind of just is the best option for you. It's 1 white mana. It's kind of unassuming. Obviously, they get a little bit of advantage from the land coming into play, but hopefully you can negate that by getting a really aggressive start. Shattering Spree is one that I've seen in a few sideboards. I kind of liked it, so I put it in this one. The card being able to replicate and just wipe out their board pretty easily against Affinity decks and even some other style of decks, whether it be decks like Ironworks or some of the Lantern control decks. I think Shattering Spree is a very reasonable one to have in your board. I've also seen some of these slots filled with things like Deflecting Palm, and I think that also is a completely reasonable thing to have coming out of your board, and something that some people might want to look at. One thing that I don't like about Deflecting Palm is a lot of players play it and they don't really know what it does. So, for example, I've had a lot of people try and Deflecting Palm my Escape Shift, and that doesn't work. So one of the problems with doing stuff like that is that the Volakut triggers in Volakut actually are individual triggers. So you can only Deflecting Palm 1. Now, with things like a Primeval Titan attack or like a Gurmag Angler attack or a Death Shadow attack, Deflecting Palm does a lot there. That's when you can put that card into your sideboard and when it's going to be really effective. In this slot, I like Shattering Spree. I think that Affinity is becoming a little bit more popular, and I like to be able to really try and beat up on that deck. So that's it for the deck tech this week. If you have any questions or any comments, please leave one. I'm really excited to try this deck out with Shrine of Burning Rage. I think that it really completes what the deck's trying to do. Be an all-out burn deck with as much burn as possible, and then close out the game with something like Shrine or Grim Lavamancer out of the board. Like, it really does fit the game plan of this deck really well, and I think that it makes the deck better. So, thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to check out patreon.com/ccmtg to become a patron of this content and all of our other content. If everybody listening and watching donated just $1, it would change our lives. We could quit our jobs and do this full time, and it would be kind of out of this world amazing. So, if you have any feedback about this deck or this content, please leave a comment, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You can also check out our podcast every week on Sundays and Mondays. Sundays for limited time only, Mondays for constructive criticism, Wednesdays for common knowledge. You can check them all out here on the YouTube channel live. We'll see you guys all next week with another deck tech.